Yes, recording started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's our last mentorship meeting today session, and we are very happy to help you to share experience. And thank you for being part of the project. And as an organizer, I'm sure that you will get some benefit because we trying to share our experience, tips that we experienced during our interview stage. And when I have been on your place, it was very helpful. I've got very benefit. I still have a communication with my mentors and with my group, and I still have a WhatsApp group which is very active from my group that we had during this time, and we have met in during my Chevening journey. So as you will, I hope that you will get a love letter from Chevening. As you will get the love letter, you are not lost because you have a peers, you already have a communicate like a contact with them, and you all are passionate to go and study in the UK. So can you change the slide, please? As you know, guys, we had already 6 mentorship session done, and today is the last 7th of them. And here you see on the screen amazing, outstanding Chevening scholars and fellow Chevening scholars or alumni who have shared for you the experience tips that they experienced during the interview stage. And please move the next slide. And today we will have brilliant and very active 3 outstanding Chevening scholars. They are in the UK right now. They are sharing their experience, what they experienced during the interview stage. Will share the tips that they will have. And just wanted to remember some of the tips might will repeat because it's like our experience, and some of them are match. And remember this one because this is the golden key for you because it's work for a lot of people. And it's just, I wanted to mention that all of us, we shared for you guys our experience. It does not mean that this is right. You have to find your own way, which is right and which you feel comfortable. And just one more detail that we did not represent official Chevening organization. We are Chevening scholars and we only share our own experience to you. So, guys, floor is for you. Just please introduce yourself and we can start official interview session. Sorry.
I'll go first if no one. Yeah, I think the slides are saying my name first as well.
Yes, before we move, just a small introduction of you guys and we can move on.
Okay, cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Tina. I come from Tbilisi, Georgia, and currently I'm based in Glasgow, studying public policy and management at the University of Glasgow.
Thank you. CEO, please go ahead, and Sergio after.
Hi, everyone. My name is CEO Bro. I'm from Liberia, a small country in West Africa. I'm studying at the University of Sussex, and I'm studying international education and development policy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sergio. I am from Paraguay, South America, and I am doing a master here in the University of Warwick about innovation and entrepreneurship.
Thank you so much, guys. Tika, go ahead, please. Floor is for you.
Okay, thanks, Mai. Hi again, everyone. Firstly, congratulations for making this far, because this is already a great achievement. You've probably heard that already, but really be proud of yourselves because you've made this far, because this is a very, very important achievement for your professional and personal development, I think. So here are some of my tips that was very helpful for me when I was attending the mentorship sessions last year, and the ones that I've used this year as well. And thanks, Mai, again for doing this for 2 consecutive years and for being this passionate about helping others. And like this passion of yours is really contagious to me, because I was doing my assignments the whole weekend and exhausted, but then I was like, okay, if Mike could do it all for 2 years, then all of us really can do it. So our main aim is again to support you in any way that we can, but we don't actually represent the official tuning. It's just our personal experiences that we're willing to share with you guys. So okay, let's start. Like to me, when I started thinking about preparations for the interview, there were like 2 ways: to either stick to my essays and the examples which I've given in them, or to come up with the additional examples. Based on my personal experience, I stuck to the ones that I wrote in my essays, and it was successful. This is like, to me, it was a bit safer way to tell my story, the story which was already approved in some ways by Chevening, right? Because these stories helped you come this far, and these stories were the ones that you told and were impactful. So I would recommend to stick to the examples in your essays while preparing for the interview. But in this process, do not think that, okay, I've written my essays and I do not need to practice them more. You really have to practice them very, very, very carefully, and practice as much as you can. This is the best tip that I can give you guys. And by as much as you can, I really mean as much as you can, because at the end of the day, you really have to be sticking to the answers, and this really helps you feel relaxed during the interview day. Use star approach, of course. This is again like the major tip that I can give. But from my personal experience, I think that you should not waste too much time on giving the context of your activities, but rather I would focus more on the actions that you did and the results that you delivered with those actions. Imagine that interview panel is sitting there all day listening to all of the applicants, and if you waste too much time on giving the context, which they may be familiar about, will not be that impactful as you, but rather than you concentrated more on the actions that you took in this regard. And also, while talking about the actions, you have already talked about them in the essays, but do not think that they've read our essays and they know everything. Yeah, they have read your essays, but they have read tons of them. So it is your chance to communicate your story in a best way you can. So stick to the stories, but make it more detailed, more powerful, and more interesting to hear for the panel. Because remember, they're also human and they should be interested in what they're hearing, right? Yeah, again, when talking about your examples, I think that together with sticking with the examples that you've had, you should also bring some additional examples, the ones that you can have in the background of your mind, just in case some follow-up question comes up. I had this kind of experience when I was talking about my leadership skills and saying these like successful stories, how I was a good leader. One of the panelists asked, okay, can you tell us a story when you faced a challenge and how did you overcome that challenge? So having the already like pre-made example in my mind, structured again with the STAR approach, really helped me to stay calm and collected while hearing the question that I was not expecting. So have at least 1 or 2 examples on leadership or networking and everything else in the background of your mind, and this will actually help you in the process. The second part is doing your research. And again, in here, I mean the real research, not the academic one, but the real research about the whole experience of being a Chevening scholar. Because a Chevening scholar is not really about just studying, right? It is about the network that you become part of. It is about the experiences that you gain while being in the UK. It's about culture, social and political relations as well. So have the general understanding of what you're gonna get from becoming the Chevening scholar, and this passion will then translate into your answers that you give and your passion that you show during the interview. Research very well, why did you choose to study specifically in the UK and not any other country, right? Because there are other scholarships that you could have applied for that you have probably applied to, but like do not mention that during the interview. Just focus on the UK and stick to your future aspirations towards UK. It is good to also research some extracurricular or some other activities related to your universities and to the places where your universities are situated. Again, like my personal experience was that whenever I was talking about the University of Glasgow and Scotland, I was like telling all the stories, why the program was the best fit for my professional interests. But also, like at the end, I said that, okay, I'm a huge Potterhead, that I should say that Hogwarts is like, to me, Hogwarts is the University of Glasgow. And this was something that was kind of remarkable and something they could remember from my speech, right? And they were all smiling and saying that, oh, we also love Harry Potter. And then we kind of bonded on that. And that also helped me to feel more confident in my future answers. I want to highlight this one very much, which relates to researching UK's support to your countries in your fields. And in this, I mean, for example, if you want to study innovations and entrepreneurship, just research if UK supports your country in this field. Again, in my case, I wanted to become public policy expert. I researched and saw that UK was one of the major funding contributors to the public administration reform in my country, in Georgia. So I tried to highlight this fact and say that my professional aspirations and UK's interest in my country are aligning. And because of that, I think that UK education will be even more beneficial to me rather than for the other ones, right? So it is always about portraying your story in a way that is more on a broader scale impactful as well. Next, we move on to showing your passion, which was quite challenging to me because I'm not a very emotional person. So I thought that this is my way to actually show myself very passionate about this, because I was really passionate about coming here. Don't forget to smile, because whenever you're talking and being serious, we mostly forget to smile. So please have this in mind, that you should smile most of the times. Be confident, and this is like an easy thing to say, but in practice it's not that easy to do, I know. But I would say that to me, being confident, practice actually helped me, because I knew my stories, which story I wanted to tell so well, and I've practiced it so well that I could actually be confident and not stress about oh my God, what I'm going to say if they ask this and this. This confidence actually came with practice. And also to do stuff like hand gestures, or like sit in a position that you feel comfortable in. So the things that can help you be confident. So yeah, that's like individual to everyone. To me, it was practice, and I think it can be beneficial for all of you guys. Yes, I would also recommend structuring your answer with the effective use of linking words. For example, when you're talking about leadership skills, you can give a brief opening statement and say that I consider myself to be a great leader because of this and this. And after that, I'm going to give you 2 or 3 examples, so that the panel is already looking forward to hearing your 2 examples. And then you can just start, probably in a way that you've structured your essay. So firstly, I'm going to talk about this example, finish that example, and then move to another one, but use the appropriate linking word, right? Okay, now I'm moving to the second example, because when you're talking, your speech might not be that well structured, but the structure can actually help you tell your story way better than you've told, like in a broader way. So plan the linking words that you're going to use again. And at the end of each question, you can also briefly, with 1 or 2 sentences, summarize the story that you've told. Again, say that this and these examples showed me that I'm a good leader, or I'm a good person for networking, or something like that. Yeah, next tip relates to mental health, and I think this is very important. I was struggling with my emotions during the process. This, like, 1 month or even more for preparing for the interview was very stressful. And at first I was like not giving myself time to relax. And I felt in the middle of the process that it wasn't going to get me at a place where I wanted to be, because I was emotionally drained. And after that, I started taking long walks, started exercising, started going out, actually seeing my friends, reconnecting with them. And it was very, very, very helpful. Do stuff that you feel comfortable in, just like 15-minute walk, or reading a book, or doing anything that you feel comfortable about. This really means a lot. And again, be proud of this achievement, and this sense of being proud will actually help you enjoy the process of preparation as well, because I'm a person who believes that we should enjoy the processes that we're going through, and not only be oriented on the result. And if you actually enjoy the process, the results may be even better. And then comes our interview day, like the most stressful day of all. And my tip is to be relaxed, which is impossible to do before you've done your interview, right? But I would actually recommend to take a day off, or like 2 days off for the interview day, to feel very much concentrated on the interview, because whenever you're working, like, tons of things might come up which can distract you from this main aim that you have on that day. So have a good night's sleep, be relaxed, be professionally dressed, smile as much as you can, and stay confident. On the interview day, like, I would try to encourage you to make the interview process sound more of a conversation rather than an exam or an interview, right? Because I think that all of you are on a level of professionalism by coming this far, that you can actually engage into meaningful and interesting conversations with the panel that you're attending. And they are also considering you as a person. They can engage too. They can ask questions or ask for their opinion. So you should also ask some questions, and they can also ask some additional questions about your thoughts, your views on further developments in your field. So you should be prepared for that, to have some, like, expert opinion as well about the things that you're gonna talk about, or the things that you're gonna study while coming in the UK. Yeah, and at the end of the interview, I would encourage you to ask questions, and they will definitely ask if you have any questions, and it would be a bit awkward if you say, no, I don't have any questions, or like, don't ask when should I expect to hear back from you, because this is something that you know, right? You have the timeline, and you have the websites that you've scrolled like millions of times before. Just come up with some interesting, funny, I don't know, important questions that can be easily answered, but again, leave the sense of this conversation rather than an interview and an exam to you. For example, I asked about the voluntary opportunities or something like that. There was other Chevening scholar in the panel, and I asked about her experience of being here. What was the major, I don't know, achievement or accomplishment of hers? So this, again, actually helped me finish my interview on a very positive note, and I thought that this left a good impression on the panel as well. So this is mostly it from me. I'm here for the Q&A session as well. And I really wish you the best of luck, the bestest of luck, and I really hope that we can see most, and like all of you, in our places next year, like giving advices for the further applicants of the Chevening. So off to you guys.
Thank you so much, Tika. I enjoy your process. Yeah, thanks again. I can't find the words because, like, I now Tika in person, so it's a little bit different and awkward for me to listen to her, like giving the very good and interesting tips from your experience. And yeah, you guys have to mention and make the notes with all of our panels that what they are saying, and one more time, like find your comfortable zone to choose and being yourself on the interview stage. Thank you again, Tika. Please move the next slide and go ahead. Next speaker. CEO, I think you are muted. You have to unmute yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. Please let me know if you can hear me. Please let me know if you can hear me. It's a much better. Okay. I just want to say thank you for coming on the call today, and thanks to me for putting this together. A little bit about me. I'm a student here at Sussex, and I remember when I was applying last year, I was a first-time Chevening applicant, and I was so overwhelmed. But I came to this session and May provided really helpful tips, and now things happen, and I'm here in the UK. So for today, I'm just sharing a few tips that worked for me, and I think you could also consider applying them in your application. So the first thing when I look about my shipping when I was preparing for this, about my entire shipping application has a storytelling. So yourself being on this big stage with a lot of people coming to tell stories, and it's your opportunity to really show the interviewers who you are as a person, what makes you stand out from the rest of your peer. Because I think being at this stage in your application means that you have something, means everyone has something that is worth considering. So it's just important that you figure out what makes you stand out. So I would say you should tell your shipping, you should tell your experience as a story. And why do I mean tell your experience as a story? Um, we all know that stories matter. Stories really impact people. People love to listen to stories, and there are components that make up a great story. If you write a story, if you are telling someone a story, you want to have a compelling character. You also want to have like an engaging plot. You want to have a setting. You want to like have a character, and you want to have like a conclusion, or what my teacher will always call an all moment. So how does this translate to your interview? So during your interview, when you were giving an example, Tina talked about using the style approach, and that is very really helpful for you to be able to tell the interviewer, not just telling them what you did, but be able to walk them through a sequence or through a path and demonstrate to them what you really did in the form of a story. So who did you work with? What was the task? What did you accomplish? You learn from that experience. All really matter in your story. And in telling your story, I think one of the questions you need to be able to answer to yourself before you go for your interview is why me? Because there are a lot of people applying who are just like you, who have the same skills and qualification, but why you? Why should you be chosen? And that's a very important question that I think you need to find an answer to. And I know you're at this stage because you've already found an answer to that question, but now you should be able to translate that into telling someone why you think you're the best candidate for this opportunity. And another tip I would like to share is it's good to start up with your essays first. I think my the previous scholar spoke about this. So, for example, you words, and you cannot explain all of your experiences in 5,000 words. For some people who have great experiences, so you might want to say, "Oh, I think they've already read what I said in my application, so I'm just going to start out with something new." For me, that would be a no, because I think you should be able to start off with what you put in your application first. So even if you have like 10, 20 examples about different leadership things you've done, start up with what is written in your application. Because from my experience, when I was being asked my Chevening questions, I think it was they were first of all trying to find out if I was the one who wrote the application. Sometimes you have this really brilliant application and they want to drill you through to think if you're the one who really wrote the application. So you have to know what's in your application, and the way to do that is to start off with the example first. Don't start off with something else that is not mentioned in your application, unless maybe if you ask a follow-up question and you might want to add a little bit more details, you can do that. If something has changed since you apply and you think it's really worth considering or adding to your application, you could also share that. Um, Another tip I would like to share is to prepare additional answers. I know sometimes most of them when we prepare for a Chevening interview or any interview, we always tend to prepare just answers like one, two answers. But I think it's always good to think about answers that might not come, because I feel like in a Chevening interview, you can be asked anything. And from the follow-up question, it's always about what you've said. So you should be able to really have two, three questions and two, three answers for each of your examples. And I think doing that will really help you to be able to ace your interview. Be able to tell your story from two, three perspectives. Be able to start from the end to the beginning, from the middle to the end, from the front to the back. I think it really shows the interviewer that you really you really have a strong understanding of what you're saying, and it kind of shows it shows that you're authentic as well. So I would like to share that one. And also listen carefully. I think like some people, like some of these scholars, I think they will agree with me. Like British English is really kind of sometimes tricky to understand, particularly if English is not your first language. I remember during my interview, I was interviewed by the deputy head of the embassy, and her English was, she spoke very fast. So it was always good to be able to listen carefully and ask questions. Okay. If there was something that was said and you didn't understand, it's good to ask questions. It's good to take a break and think. I did this during my interview. If you ask a question and you think you cannot get the answer right into your head, it's good to take a break. I shared this tip with you when I was going for my Chevening interview. A friend of mine told me, CEO, you should be able to do something that will leave an impression. And what I did when I was nervous, I literally poured the water that was given to me in a glass, and I pulled it to it overflow on the desk, not too much. And then my interviewer asked me, CEO, are you nervous? And I just said, no, but I just want to get over 100 points. And that was just like an icebreaker for me. And it just set the tone, and I felt relieved, and we all laugh about it. So I think it's always good to ask questions if you don't understand. The key thing about a Chevening interview is research, and I cannot really stress this enough. I think being here kind of demonstrates that you've done a lot of research, but I think there are a lot of research that needs to be done, particularly at this interview stage, because I think everyone who comes to the interview is a star, and what sets you apart is how much effort you put into your work. So you should really be able to research what is the latest trend in your chosen area. When I applied for this scholarship, I've been working in education programs. So I really try to research what was the leading policy issue in education all the time. Education in my country, it was really about girls' education and early childhood education. And then I was able to think about what the UK was doing in that area. So I was able to kind of write down projects that the UK have done in those areas. I was able to tell how much money they've been able to spend, who were the beneficiaries, what were the project areas. All of that really kind of demonstrate that you really know what's happening in the field. Also, what is the UK doing in your country that relates to what you want to do? Um, Believe me or not, I come to know like Chevening is a kind of a two-way street scholarship. It's also about you. It's also about your host country, which is the UK. So it's like a win-win situation. So you have to picture how does the UK benefit from my studies, and one of the way to do that is to be able to make sure that you know what the UK is doing in your country about that particular field. In case the UK is not doing anything in your country about that field, you could also think about something similar and connect to how that transcends or how your degree will kind of create something that aligns with the UK's mission in your country. That is very important to keep in mind. Um, and Also about your uni, do some thorough research about your uni. For example, I knew that Sussex, I've always wanted to come to when I was working, I had a chance to work with people from Sussex who did research in Liberia on early childhood education. And I was also really passionate about Sussex because it has this kind of international outlook. So I was able to kind of like write down those research that was done in Liberia by this university about early childhood education curriculum. I was also able to tell what was the finest research, just to kind of demonstrate that you really know about what you want to study in the uni. Engage the professors, look at your university website, look at previous reports they've written about different things about your interest area, and being able to show to your interviewer that you really understand the course and what's happening at that university. It really, really sets you apart. And don't overstay the farts. I know sometimes we'll come to this Chevening interview and we want to shine bright. We want to like be perfect. But I think it's very important, and I think everyone who has gotten the scholarship will understand like it's good to admit your limitations. That's something you just don't know, and you have to recognize that this is my gap, and this is where the scholarship is going to help me to grow. I think doing that also helps to show to your interviewers that you're not trying to picture. I'm not saying it's wrong to be a perfectionist, but that you want to grow in, and you should be able to find out what is it, be it in your leadership, in your career, in your networking. What is this gap that you have that the scholarship can fill? And then that will be really, really helpful. And stay true to yourself. I tell you something. You don't know your interviewer, and you don't know the kind of experiences they had, if they're familiar with your area or if they're familiar with the field you work in. So you don't want to say something that is not the truth, or that is you don't want to overstate the fact, and then someone come and tell. The worst thing you want to do is to say something that is not true on a Chevening interview, and someone's on the panel who knows what the right information is. That's going to be a very bad sign for you. So you want to stay true and you want to stay authentic. And when sharing your examples, it's also important to quantify your achievement. I'm saying this to say a lot of times we get examples. At these days, I work with girls in my community. I work with 5 person on the team. But I think you should really be able to demonstrate numbers. No matter how small the number is, I think numbers are really helpful to show the kind of impact that you've had. So I really think that you should be able to use numbers as often. Try to quantify your achievement. So instead of saying I work with girls in my community, you could say I work with 10 girls in a girls club. I work with 5 boys. I was on a team of 4 person. We work in 3 communities, and we were able to achieve this, and it benefited X amount of people. I think numbers are really helpful way to quantify your achievements, and you should be able to use them appropriately when you're giving some of your examples. Some of my general tips is to be confident. I know you're at this stage is because you're confident, because you've put in a lot of work. And it's really important to carry that confidence to your interview. I know shivering the interview can be overwhelming. It's one thing to say it now that, oh, it's overwhelming, and it's another thing to experience it. But as someone who's been there, who have experienced it, I knew how overwhelming I was. The day before my interview, I just could not eat. I lost appetite. I was so worried. And it's really okay to feel this way sometimes. Do something that will maybe take a little road trip, or have a good night's sleep, or listen to music, something that will make you feel really good. And just be confident and keep a smile. You want to go to your shaving interview smiling. You want to kind of maintain eye contact with your interviewers. You want to kind of like be conversational. Sometimes you practice your essay so much that you start to sound robotic. But I think at your interview stage, you should be able to really kind of connect like you're having a conversation, okay? And think critically about your career path. I think when I left my shipping interview, it's one of the things that I think I should have done more that I did not do, which is why I put them here. Because there was a question that came from me in my career plan that I never thought about. And the interviewer just asked that question out of the blue. And that was because I wasn't thinking that way to say I thought about my career, what I wanted to do, but I think it's good to really give it a very detailed, really think about your career plan. And when you think about your career plan, so instead of saying, oh, I want to be a doctor after this degree, and then I want to go and be a consultant, you could say after my first 2 years, I want to practice medicine to be a doctor. In the 5 years, I want to be a consultant. Kind of give a time frame to what you really, really want to do and express emotions. It's okay to express emotions. I cried during my Chevening interview. I know it sounds funny now, but yes, I did cry because I was explaining something about my career plan, about what motivated me, about what I want to do after this, about after my studies. And the interviewer asked me, why do I want to do this? And it was because I had a relative of mine who I was living when I was a kid, and that person was in that same path, and they had to pass on because they were very vocal of the government at the time. And I was a kid, and I remember when they were killed. I was emotional. So when I was explaining it to the interviewer, I just broke down in tears and I started crying. And I'm not saying you should go to your interview crying, but if you have something that resonates with you that you're passionate about, it's okay to express emotions because I think what you want to do is to really, really leave an impression. There are a lot of people who your interviewer is going to speak to, but if they mention your name, they should be able to connect something with your name. And I feel I left that hall because maybe my interviewer said, "Oh, CEO was the guy who cried when he came for his interview." I think I left that impression, not maybe not in a good way, but I feel like my interviewer knew from that day they could put something on my name to say, "Oh, CEO was the guy who came in and he cried," or "CEO was the guy who came in and did something, who spilled the water over." So you want to leave an impression, and you just want to really be confident and know that you deserve this scholarship, and just accept it that no matter the outcome, you've come here because you are a winner, because you've done something great. So I know it's good to think about the roses stuff that I'm going to get a scholarship, but I'm encouraging you, even after your interview, think about other opportunities, think about many opportunities, go about your normal life, and just know that if it's meant for you, it's going to come. And I wish everyone good luck in your interview. I hope you really ace your interview, and I can't wait to see you in the UK.
Thank you so much, Sio. Thanks for sharing your personal and emotional and unique experience that you had in during the interview. It was very personal, and thank you for being honest and open for the new applicants. And I hope that it will be motivation for them to be their self on the interview stage. And I hope so, guys, that you make already made the notes from CEO and Tika and Sergio. It's floor is for you. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Maya, for your commitment with this initiative. And I want to add some tips from my experience to the great tips that Tina and CEO already gave to us. And I am from Paraguay. My first language is not English. And I remember when I got the interview invitation, and it was like 1 hour of impressive happiness. And after that, oh my God, I need to prepare for the interview. And I start thinking about my possible answers. Okay, maybe I can have these three options if they ask this, and then I work on my answers for something like 3 weeks, and then okay, now it's time to start practicing on my own, pitching to myself, and this process helped me to gain confidence. On my own capacity to explain my ideas in another language, and also on my story, like Theo said, because you are presenting yourselves there to the panelists, and they want to know the person behind the essays. Your essay was great, and you need to, during your interview, try to go further in your achievement that you mentioned in your essays, and also try to um, show to them that which is the person behind those essays and those goals. And that is my first point. It brings all the examples from your essay. Keep aligned with your stories. Try to um, explain to the panelists, even with more details, what you did in the past, what was your motivation. And actually, Tina mentioned that they asked to her about when she had a challenge in her experience and how she deal with that, and try to bring a concrete example. Try to be as concrete as possible when you are explaining these kind of situations. And also, if you have a meaningful achievement after your essay submission, try to prepare also a sentence for that. It's important to show to the panelists that you are working on your field, you have commitment in your projects, and you are moving forward. It's important. And also the STAR approach. I think the STAR approach is a key during the Chevening application, starting from the essays and then to the interview, because if you follow an structure, it's more easy to the panelists to get your ideas. Um, Also try to explain briefly the situation, what was your role in that situation, and how you get achievements, outcomes. They want to know your outcomes, and they want to know how you reach those outcomes and the impact that you had in the past. Um, Also, one thing, I put the research in the middle because for me it was the most important thing. And during this week that I mentioned at the beginning, when I start writing my answers, I remember I organized some meetings with people in Paraguay that work in the entrepreneurial and innovation area, because that is the course that I'm doing now. And I had meetings with them, and I tried to and ask to them about the trends in the area in my country, and also, for example, if they have some projects that include the UK embassy, and I found some important insights, or I got some important insights from them that I include in my mind. And if if they ask something related to this, I will bring in the interview with numbers, with and updated information to the panelists, just to show that I have an engagement with the area, and I have contacts, and I know how to use the networking in the correct way. That's also important, because as a Chevener, you will join in a big community, and you need to know how to um, engage with other people, and like in this environment that we have now. And it's important to show that. Also, I remember I have, like CEO mentioned, I have some numbers in my head. For example, I remember they asked me about and the situation of the small and mid-sized companies in my country. And I told to them that 70% of companies in Paraguay, and they don't have the opportunity to formalize their businesses. And I told to them that, and also I told to them that I had a project when we have 5 customers on board, helping to them in their formalizing process. And that is was one way to explain how that I know about the problems in my country, and also I am working now on that. The moving on the balance, yes, balance. is really important. And when I talking, when I say imbalance, I try to say that when you arrive to the interview, you need to be formal since the beginning, but also you need to smile, transmit your emotions, try to engage with them, because as my colleague mentions, they are also people. They are there to help you to make the environment comfortable, um, and also try to show your passion, your enthusiasm about the area, and but not rush. Just keep calm, explain, be clear, um, and be concrete. And also the day, because in that day you will want to um, shine, and it's perfect, and that is the point. But you need to find the balance between self-confidence and modesty. You need to be in the middle. um, that is also a topic, a tip that I want to give you today. And to sum up, the days before is maybe you don't want to speak about anything else about that is not your interview. It's difficult to like engage in another activities, but you need to go to the gym, for example. If you like an sport, try to do that, and try to find some activities to relax your mind. And it is crucial to balance the interview preparation with your life, because maybe you are working now or you are studying now, and you need to balance your emotions and your mind before that day. For example, I remember the day before to my interview, I was really concerned about my answers again, but I decided to just go to play football the night before. And I think it was useful for me because I feel like tired, and I had a good sleep during the night, and then I woke up like with a good feeling. Um, to sum up, guys, I wish all the best for you, and this opportunity is amazing. But whatever happens with this Chevening journey, you need to keep pushing. Um, and I again I wish all the best for you guys.
Thank you so much, Sergio, to share your experience, especially the private part, like you play football and you was worrying. Like I know, like I still remember the. Actually, I was excited to have the interview because I was waiting 1 month, and it's like it seems like it was ages. So I wanted to have finally the interview. And day before, I remember I had a COVID, so it was like I've been in self isolation that time. And I was like, okay, tomorrow will be my interview stage. And it was the last day of the self isolation. So I was like, okay, I have to be excited. But at the end, because I had a online interview, they never reached like last 20 minutes, and I have not been in Georgia, so it was quite challenging for me. And I had like shocked, I was stressed out, I thought like, what's going on, is it the right link, because I can't call them because I was not in my country. So if you guys, your interview is online, please make sure that link is right, and you have to wait until your time comes, because they have been late because of the previous applicant. They took more time than I like than they planned. So I was waiting until that time like reached, and they came and they were apologizing me. But it was so stressful. So on the interview stage, I already been very tired, stressed out. But since I started the talking, I just forget that I was on the interview because I was super prepared, very confident. And as my colleagues already mentioned, I have done mock-up interview a lot of time. record myself a lot of time. So use the tips that my colleagues gave you, and you will be confident on the day that is very important for you right now, and you are looking forward to hear the positive, like, love letter from the Chevening. And yeah, good luck. Thanks again for my speakers to being with us and share their tips. It's very important. Sergio, if you can please move the last slide. It's about question and answer. And as you know, today is the last session, so we will try to cover the all question. So I have seen already one raised hand, and Jonathan, please go ahead and directly question, please. Thank you. Jonathan, we did not hear you. I have seen your hands, but we did not hear you. If you please, you can unmute yourself. Okay, next person is Isaac. Please go ahead.
Okay, good evening, morning, and everybody's time. Thanks to the panelists. We're really happy to have you on this call, and it is our pleasure to listen to your very interesting journeys to join the Chevening group. I have two quick questions, and the first one is about you mentioned in your presentation that you should have some gestures. I mean, like you have to feel relaxed and comfortable in the interview. Of course, some of us still doing the interviews online. So how should I do that? Like, for example, how will I use gestures when I'm on an online call, for example, like what you're doing now? Because we can only see head is moving. Sometimes the internet may not be good. How can I do that? That's the first question I wanted to ask to the panelists. And now my second question is about quantifying. It's good that you mentioned about you have to say numbers in terms of what you had achieved in your previous experiences in terms of leadership. So I want to know, for example, if I'm talking about number of students supported in the case of education, like 50 students, should I disaggregate the data? Like, should I say 10 male, 10 female, or generally say we had supported 150 through our initiative as a community leader? So back to you, Maya.
Thank you so much, guys. Feel free. You can start and answer any question you want. Uh,
Yeah, let me just go, May. I think I was the one who spoke about the quantifying. So I think it really depends on the context of what you're trying to explain. So if say for example, if you work with a small team, you work with 10 students or 15 students, I think in that way it's easier to break down the data that you're trying to explain, given the context. But if you work with 500 teachers or 1,000 persons, you might want to state that number, maybe unless the interviewer asks for specifics. But I think it's really kind of based on your description of what you want to explain, and what aspect you think will really demonstrate what you're trying to explain. So say for example, I used to work with teachers. I work with a lot of teachers, over 1,000 teachers. I don't know all of them, but I know that the teachers I work with, more than 500 of them transitioned from being volunteer teachers, which basically means they didn't have certain teaching qualifications, and were able to give them training and transition them to the government payroll. So I knew that more than 500 teachers transitioned to the government payroll at the time. So when I was given that example in my essays, I just gave an approximate. I wasn't exact. You could give an approximate and say more than 300 persons, or more than 10 teachers, or more than 5 students, if you don't really want to give a big number. But I think it depends on the context that you're trying to explain. So my answer will be just use your descriptions and use numbers that will really show the impact of your accomplishment.
And second question was about the online interview. Guys, do you had online interview? If not, I can share my experience.
No, in my case, it was in person.
Mine was in person as well.
Yeah, I had an in-person interview, but from what I can suggest is that you can always smile to the camera, don't forget that. But also, like, you can use hand gestures. For example, if you move a bit like far away from the screen, you can sit up tight and just use the hand gestures that might make you feel more involved or included in the process. But do not overdo it. If I talk like this all the time, that may be a bit awkward. But you can still show passion online, and Mai will talk about it even more. Uh, yeah, and I wanted to add briefly on the numbers as well. I don't think that you should give like very, very detailed context because you have a very limited time and you might want to focus more on the results. And in illustrating those results, you might use percentages, for example, or some comparisons that will show the value of your numbers even more rather than just saying, okay, I've engaged with 50 people. Probably it's better to say that these 50 people is like a percent of something, which is even more important to add, right? But again, as Theo mentioned, it relates to the context, what you're talking about. So you can decide, but make it sound like a very, very important thing that you're saying. That would be my tip.
Yeah, I
Um,
will just add. Yeah, if you want to add, yeah,
no,
go ahead, please.
no,
I
you go
just wanted
first.
to add something about. Okay, I just wanted to add something about the online interview. So my interview was online. To be honest, from the beginning, I was thought that it was challenging, but then I just try to write down what was the positive part of being online. So one was that I was at home and I sit in my pajamas, but of course from outside, like I had a like suit and I was professional, but I wanted to say that I was comfortable in a place that I had an interview. So it's very important because this anxiety I have not had to enter the room, to see people. So because my interview started a little bit late, was stressful for me, of course, but at the same time, these 20 minutes, I was like, what should I do? I had anxiety. But once I started, they came and they were like, they were super nice, so friendly. So they mentioned 10 times apologized to me and they said we will add these 10 minutes to you. And yeah, it was so hard for me to start. But I think mostly like for me it was easier because also I had some notepads. I never used, but I made notepads just in case that I overstressed or something. So but I never used this because it was all my story and I was passionate to study, and I share it without using these tips. But like somehow, like your person, like we all are person at the end of the day, and we have some like a fear. So for some people going to the interview or attending for the interview or the fair, or like they have a phobia for this. So if you are kind of person or you have anxiety, remember that like online interview is just make you calm more because you are in your home, but make sure that you find, if you don't have internet connect like good internet connection at home, make sure that you find a spot and ensure your internet connection, because it's very important to have a good internet connection. And for instance, I was in a student accommodation that time because I was volunteering in Germany. So I asked all of my neighbors to be home, like to be alone that time, because to don't have like noise around me or like loud, like I don't want it to be in a loud place that time. So I ask them kindly to make sure that they are not at home that time, or if they are at home, like leave the living room empty. So Yeah, that was my approach that time. What else? Yeah, I had a, don't forget your passports, because I remember a friend of mine, she has an online interview as well. She forget the passport and she ran away to another room to bring the passport. And like it's not good point. Like she's Chevening scholar, but she has this experience. So make sure that you have a passport. And also like cup of water I recommend for you, because sometimes it's make you calm, or if you want to think more about something that you get the unexpected question, will be nice to like drink the water and take your time like that. I hope that I cover your question. And Sio, go ahead, please.
Um, I'm just looking at the chat now, and someone is asking. The first question is we should share the questions we were asked in our interview. For me, I don't know about other scholars, but I was asked the exact same questions that were in the essay applications. But what happened was I keep having follow-up questions from my answers. So there was nothing asked that was out of my essays. It was exactly the same four question: leadership, career, networking, and why I chose my UK universities. But in each of these areas, I have follow-up questions. So I will give a response, and then there will be a follow-up question. But I was never asked anything that was out of my essays question. Another thing someone is asking, at the date of the interview, how many persons will be part of the panel? I don't think that's a straightforward answer to this. I mean, I have four persons on my panel. Some people had two persons, some people had three persons, some people maybe it was one person. So you just don't want your you just can't tell how many person will be there. And about the dress code, I went in person, so at least I went and I wore something. And I think it's just good to wear what make you comfortable. If it's a traditional outfit, if you think if you want to be traditional, that's fine. If you want to be corporate, that's also fine. If you want to be smart casual, that's fine. That's acceptable. I don't think it's really about what you wear, though. It's really about what you're going to say. So just think about something that looks presentable and that is comfortable for you. And one last tip I forget to share, please, guys. I know someone from my country who was scheduled for an interview, and this person came from out of the capital because the embassy is in Monrovia, and they did not know the embassy, and they were going to find the embassy on the day of the interview. Please, if you are having an in-person interview, take a day or two and find where the embassy is and how easy it is to get from where you'll be staying. The last thing you want to do is to show up late for your shipping interview or get lost or get stuck up in the traffic. So please be sure that you take a day. If you're driving, drive around, go to the embassy, see where are the good place to park, see where you can stop and grab coffee and just calm your mind. It's good to go even an hour early and just sit in your car maybe, or maybe grab a coffee nearby, but please don't go late and don't try finding the venue on the day of the interview. Please, that's very important to keep in mind as well.
Thank you so much, Sia. I have seen two raised hands, and also we have a question in the chat that we did not cover. So I will go back for this as well. So Mubarak, uh, please take my apologies if I did not pronounce your name correctly. Go ahead.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, all of you. I would like, I think that there's no time. So I would like ask you one questions and also one suggestions. So my question is about don't overstate the facts. Prepared additional answers are not in your essay. I would like to explain Baden again or again. Uh, the second question is, uh, can can I record this session tonight or not? Thank you so lot.
First of all, I will just go quickly about the session. Yes, we record all the session and we will publish very soon, like at the end of the session. So about the first question, guys, please.
Uh, uh, don't ever state the facts. Prepare additional answers are not in your essay. It's uh, during the lessons. I like to burden and I like to repeat.
Sorry, I'm not getting your question. Would you just go back over it?
Uh, uh, I think chiefin is you say chiefin is a storytelling.
Yep, yeah.
So if the banner is asking me, what's your career plan? Or
Mhm.
why did you study in UK? How can I answer that question deeply?
Okay. I think you're talking about saying not overstating the fact. So I think if you were to say, for example, what is your career plan? Um, I think you could overstate the fact in that question if you say if you give a plan that is not realistic. For example, you say I'm going to do this in 2 months or 1 month, and you know it's not realistic. I think that would be overstating the fact, or saying something like, oh, I want to do a PhD in 1 year after this. I mean, it's just about really giving something that is realistic and achievable. Because the people who looking at your plan, who looking at your interview and reading your papers, they're knowledgeable about the context that you're in, they're knowledgeable about the country. So if you're given a career plan, you want to think about something that is actually achievable. She really wants to invest in something that is achievable, that can be done. So if you can give a very what they call a very smart career plan that is small, that is manageable, that is realistic and time bound. Again, for example, regarding being in the UK, another way you could overstate the fact is by saying, oh, maybe when I'm in the UK, I'm going to try to visit every university and learn what they're doing. That's not realistic. You cannot do that. Or you cannot travel to everywhere in the UK. Or maybe you cannot take more classes than what is already given to you at your universities. So you just got to just be honest in your answers. That's what I really meant when I said don't overstate the fact. Just be authentic and be honest in your answers. Don't try to say something that is not the truth because you want to stand out, but say something that is the truth that shows that you're authentic.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to complement the CEO answer, just saying that in my case, for example, when they asked to me about my career plan, I tried to structure it in short, mid, and long-term plans. And I think it was useful to explain step by step what you are thinking you will do upon your return.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Yarita, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hello, guys. Well, my question is, when at the end of the interview, when we are going to do a question, what kind of question we make to them?
Your question is like what kind of question you might ask the panelists, right? If I get
Yes,
correctly.
yes, that is
Yes, someone also posted that in a chat, and I suggest that either you stick to some general question, like the one I asked, which was about their experiences in volunteering in the UK and what would they recommend me, like what were the possibilities of volunteering, and did they think that it would be like complementary to my studies, or you can be more specific and channel your question to the specific issues that the UK is supporting or funding in your country, in your context, and ask for their opinion. How do they see further developments around this area, for example. Some very specific context related, and you can also come up with it like in the process of the interview, right? You never know how it actually goes, and you can kind of go back to the things that you were talking about previously and ask that at the end as well. That would be my suggestions.
Yes, in my case, my interview was like a conversation, and this question I came at the end because they asked me if I had a question for them, and I remember I just asked them about, for example, if that is true that the British people they always can come on time, for example, because in my country we are totally the opposite, and they just and they just laughed and answered to me, and that was the end of the interview.
That's actually a very nice experience. Yeah, I think so. What's important, remember that you have a certain minutes or like 15 minutes, like that you are talking a lot, and like asking question is like their time to also talk to you and engage to you. So use this opportunity is very important because we all love to talk about ourselves or our experience. And it's gonna be a catch for you to say something that they will remember. For instance, like the Sergio mentioned, or like with Tina mentioned, because like she asked and she showed them that she's interested into like has a opportunity and she's from the very beginning think about further and she want to have a volunteering experience. So it's very important to don't ask the question that you can Google it and get the answer online, because it show that like show them that you are just like asking them question just randomly, or like you are the leader that you have not checked online this information. So it's very important to be like ask question you're really interested in and you can find online this question. Olha, please go ahead.
Hello everyone, thank you for the useful tips and information. I really appreciate that. My question is related to the preparation for the interview. How all of you do the mocking interviews? And if so, if you have practiced with your friends, maybe relatives, or if you were looking in particular for some people already enrolled in your course of interest, or maybe already achieving alumni. So what was your experience on that? Thank you.
So because all of you guys will have different experience, you go each for share the experience. Thank you.
I think with me, I had a lot of mock interviews from the WhatsApp group that we were in. We kind of broke it down into areas like study areas. I was in a group for just education and development. And so I think May was the one who sent up a Google Sheet and we kind of created a group for each other. And we were like 15 person in that group. And what we did was to set up our own mock interview date. We had like almost 10 interview with each other, just mock sessions. Later on, people started practicing like and just broke out, and it was just like that. But I think it's really important to do a lot of mock interview with your family, with your friends, with someone who you trust. Another thing that worked for me though, I used to write questions and just stand in front of the mirror in the bathroom and just try to answer those questions. And I think it just like talk to yourself. Like when I'm driving, I would be like repeating questions in my head and just saying it out loud. But I think it's important to do mock interviews. It really helps to build your confidence. And I would highly, highly recommend mock interview because over time you kind of know where you're strong and where you are weak and where you really need to develop strong answers. So I would recommend that you really do mock interviews.
Yes, similarly, I would agree. I had mock interviews. I didn't have them with a lot of people. It was just 2, 3 people with whom I practiced. They were 2 of them were former Chevening scholars, and one was my family member. So, but mostly I did the prep work like in the mirror, talking to myself, because I didn't want to waste time, because everyone obviously has a lot on their plates. But whenever I had mock interviews and they gave me suggestions, I made sure that I reflected on those suggestions. So I went back, I again talked to myself, I tried to reflect on their comments, and then go back to them and actually talk to them in an improved way. So together with preparing by yourselves, I would really suggest doing the mock interviews as well. But have this mindset in mind that while you're doing a mock interview, you are already at the interview. So do not try to stop and redo or stuff like that. Actually go through the whole process, like the whole idea of the mock interviews, this, right? Go through the whole process, then reflect on the things that you would like to improve, and then reflect on that individually again, and then do as many mock interviews as you get, and talk to as many people as you can, of course, because this is the best opportunity to learn and to improve yourself.
Yes, in my experience, I also had, I remember, two mock interviews. But first, I practiced by myself in my room, just walking around, answer questions, recording me. And then when I got like a, a level when I felt comfortable, I start arranging these mock interviews with former Cheveners too. Because and my goal of that mock interviews was see how I answer the follow-up questions, and that's it. I think you need to try to expose yourself to this kind of follow-up question, because that is the most difficult part.
I I absolutely agree. Just want to add that do as many mock-up as you can. And it's not only necessary to do like real mock-up, like to have someone. I have done mock-up with myself. So I asked question myself, I record my answer. So this is also kind of mock-up. And during the time that if I realize that I have some gap in the answer, I asked myself follow-up questions. So it's depend and it's up to you with whom you feel comfortable to have a mock-up. And yeah, to be honest, I had a lot of mock-up, I think 9 of them. And also I record the answer, and because I was living so far from the workplace, so I always listen myself while I was on my way to work, because I wanted to improve and develop myself. And I every time I listen new recording, I find it out that I have a development here because I had a gap from the previous voice. So it's very important to work on yourself and be, as my colleagues mentioned, the comfortable in the answer that you are saying, because like mostly English is not our first language, and it's hard to say something like, even though that it's about you, sometimes it's very hard to see that you are confident. So practice, practice, practice. This is key. I just want to say that. Let me see if there is any raised hand. Rolando, please go ahead. We did not hear you. If you want to say something, unmute yourself, please.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry,
I think.
sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
go
Yeah,
ahead, please.
no, just was a mistake. I didn't raise the hand. Sorry.
No worries, that's all right. I just wanted to read one question from the chat because I think it's a very useful question. So our applicants ask you, if you don't mind, please share what we have to avoid, which kind of mistake we have to avoid during the interview time. So I think it's very important question. So please, guys, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say you should avoid, you should plan the timing of your answers very well. You should take into account that you just have 30 minutes and do not over concentrate on just one answer and then like spend 15 minutes on one and then see that you just have so little time left for the other ones that you're not able to communicate your whole story. So when practicing, just divide time in a way that allows you to give full comprehensive answers to each of those questions. Because in my case, during the interview, I was able to tell everything I needed to tell and that I wanted to tell because the interview panel did not interrupt me while I was talking. So I think even if I talked 15 minutes on just one question, they would be like, okay, you can talk. But you're also the one who controls the process. So make sure that you tell your story in a not in a very long way, but in a short way that can actually make the major points that you want to get. So yeah, don't practicing is the common mistake, and assuming that interviewers know your essays and you can skip some of those parts. No, you do not need to skip any of it. You have to stick to the story that you want to tell, and imagine that it is your first time communicating yourself as a person who is a Chevening scholar in future. So make sure that you use this time very wisely. Yeah, I think that would be me.
Yes, to complement the Tina answer, I remember that one thing that I wanted to avoid was to extend too much in my answers. And for that reason, I practice like my most of the interview take around 20 to 30 minutes, right? And maybe you will have maximum 3 minutes to answer a question, and I practice using keeping that in mind, right? And I just try to practice answering my question between 1 to 2 minutes, and my longer answer was like 3 minutes, almost 3 minutes, and something like this. I think it is good to avoid to go to the cloud, I can say. Just stay concrete in your answers.
I think also because they really ask a lot of follow-up questions from your answers. So it's sometimes it's worth not giving very long answers because if there is something they need to know, they're going to ask a follow-up question. They always ask a follow-up questions. So if there is something you didn't say and they really want to know about, they're going to ask you. So it's just good to focus on the relevant details as well because they're still going to ask you follow-up questions.
And I just want to add one of my friends' experience, like because I never been like a face-to-face interview with a Chevening panelist. My friend shared a very funny story. She said that she has a kind of habit that whenever she's talking, like does not matter if it's official or friendship conversation, she's always doing like this with her hand. So she said, my like I just really don't want it to do this kind of action on the interview because body language means a lot for the interview stage. So she said that whenever I go to the interview room, I was asking to myself to keep calm and don't use the hands very often. So if you have kind of habits or something that look awkward, let's say, on the interview stage, you might have in your mind to just be calm and be positive because she said that she's doing this because she has like a kind of habit. So does not matter was it official or friendship conversation, she's always doing this. So yeah, it does not look nice when you're on the interview stage. So if you have kind of like a action, you might avoid this and be prepared, you will be all right, I think. And one more question, guys. Just wanted to say, the read from the chat. I'm going to change one of my course. How do you guys recommend me to address it? And do I have to give them a lot of reason why I want to change the course?
I think you mean changing one of the universities, but I would recommend probably you did that, but I would recommend sticking to the field, like the overall umbrella field that you're doing. For example, if you're doing like policy, stick to something like that. But you can always give a very strong justification why you chose another university rather than it. Don't just give a vague answer and understanding that it is more interesting or it will be more useful. Just be very precise. Just you can say that they have a new professor that I'm very much willing to learn from, or they have this like super cool center for research, which I'm going to apply. If some new development happened that actually tricked you into that course more than the other one that you've already had, say that, of course, obviously, but give some professional, serious academic justification. And I don't think that it will be a problem as long as you are very confident in why you did that and give a very specific and detailed justification. And if you already have the offer from the new course, you can always say that at the interview stage, say that, okay, I have this new opportunity coming up. I have the unconditional offer from them, so I'm very happy to have this opportunity to change this, for example.
I'm seeing someone is asking in the chat if Chevening sponsors. It says, is Chevening still providing a visa for spouses and children? I think the answer to this question is no, because Chevening does not support family visa as a just scholar. And I think if you look at the website, there was a place I read that they highly discourage scholars from bringing their family to the UK as well. So you want to maybe research a little bit more on the UK immigration right now, because there's been a lot of changes made. So, but from Chevening point of view, as we are not the representative of Chevening, as a scholar right now, we are not encouraged to bring family, but maybe the other colleagues can share ideas about that.
Yeah, like from 2024, the general rule of the immigration in the UK changed. It's not like a cheapening part, but like it's just general rule from any other international student can't bring the family from 2024. As I remember, it's already like active. You can change, you can check this on the website, definitely. But as I know, it's already active and it's starting from 2024. So about the university changes, I just want to add that I personally changed the university. Uh, and I give them a reason, like which was a academical reason, but I have not changed the course. I choose the same course but in different university, and as Tina mentioned, like it's very important to choose the same field that you mentioned in your essay, because you are on this stage. It's mean that you have chosen for this reason, that why do you want to study in the UK. So it's like if you got rejected, don't mention this reason on the interview stage, like you want to change university because you got rejected. No, you have to find the reasonable information or like a gap in the courses that you choose. Personally, I've done the same. So I had a course in University of Glasgow, which is like I had two courses in University of Glasgow. So one of them was inclusive education, that one I graduate, and another one was education management. So I choose these because I wanted to generally, but on like they had a two courses was focused about inclusive education, and I have met on the Zoom. I had a Zoom meeting with a course leader, and she said that these two courses that I was talking about on my essay, she said that we are not going to have this year because there was some management problem regarding the course. So this was the reasonable reason for them, and told them that, guys, I really want to study this course, but since I had a meeting with a course leader, I find it out that they have changed the two important course that I have wrote in my essay, which was connecting to inclusive education. And like my goal is in the future to bring the knowledge in my country in the field of inclusive education. So I don't want to study generally education. That's the reason why I want to change my university. So if you have a strong reason or a strong academic reason, which is not depend on you, and but like don't show them that you have not done research before. It's also very tricky because sometimes like if I just say, oh, I find it out that the courses that I chose is not good, and I want to study more inclusive education related course on the interview stage, just without saying that I had made, like I made the meeting with a course leader, means that I have not done my research when I should. So be very careful when you change the university. Technically you are allowed, but like you need to have a very strong reason why you're going to change your university. And last question is like, do they ask you 5
I
question
want
only?
to answer a question that I found in the chat from Irina, and she's asking
Go
about
ahead, please.
entrepreneurship and education. And yes, if from my point of view, you need to do a research about both areas just to have a deep knowledge about that if they ask you in the follow-up question for more details. For example, one site that I use, I will share with you here in the chat. It was the Global Monitor Entrepreneurship Monitoring. And you can look for the report on this site for your country, and you will find some useful insights about the entrepreneurship and innovation in your country, and you can bring it into the interview.
I have seen one more raised hand. Yaman, please go ahead. I think it's our last question. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello? Okay, okay, great. So my question is about, do they ask two questions? One, for example, to provide them with the examples, one for the leadership and one for the networking, or just will ask you, for example, give us an example of your leadership and networking. So instead of providing them two separate examples, they just ask you to have a one at having the two answers, or one questions have the two directions of the leadership and networking.
Yeah, they ask them separately. So you should answer leadership's question with your leadership examples, and then they will ask separately on the networking. So do not mix it up. They may, like theoretically, they may ask it like both together, but I don't think so, because the criteria for marking your answers from the interview is based on 4 major pillars, which are leadership, networking, career plan, and university choices. So do not mix them up. Just listen to the questions, of course, how they are formulated, but mostly it will be separately. Leadership and networking. And there was another question similar to this, asking that if there are 5 or 4 questions. There are generally 4 topics, as I mentioned before, and the criteria of marking your answers is based on these 4 topics, similar to the essays, but you can get like any amount of follow-up questions, like anything at all, and they may even ask some additional questions, right? So we don't have this exact answer to how many questions you will be asked.
Thank you so much. I think we just finish our session. Just wanted to thank you again, guys, for being with me, for being to give them very useful tips and share your experience. And I wish you good luck. I hope that you will be your best version of yourself on the interview stage because it's very important. And yeah, good luck. I think that was my last word. If you want to add anything else, speakers, feel free, please.
No, thank you, Mai, for organizing again, and good luck, everyone. Really rooting for your success to come here next year.
Yes, thank you, Mai and Tina, see you, and all the best for you guys.
You, yeah, I just stopped recording. Um, just wanted to ask to the